G&T show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discussion is advice. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Star Trek.
The Final Frontier.
These are the voyages of the G&T show.
Our continuing mission?
To explore Star Trek storytelling.
On the screen.
In books.
Games.
And fan fiction. To boldly go
where no show has gone before.
We have a kind of punk rock Star Trek thing going here. We're like a fanzine.
We're the best podcast because we say so.
You don't like downloading the G&T show? Go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah, it's the professionalism that sells the show.
Tune into the G&T show. You take your chances.
That kind of frightens me.
Oh, it should.
I love Sunday morning giggles.
Wait a minute. There's a question for the fine folks at G&T. He must be somebody else, but go ahead. Oh, we're going to have a fun day.
Midnight Shadows suggest...
Hell no with a blowtorch. I love our listeners.
I do too.
I want to say something to our audience. I have no idea what they're talking about in the chat room. Christopher 13's email. Oh, hey, Kush. My response to that is...
I swear, we have the best audience. They don't just talk to us, but they talk to each other.
It's quite the eclectic group. Trekkies are particularly cool in this regard.
Our friends with benefits.
Wow. I hate it when things are misinterpreted.
We work without a net here on the G&T show.
I will cut you today. I will get all time on your ass. Okay? Okay. I've been told. Is Jadzia not the next televixen?
Yep, there
it's
you
all
go.
Good. Hi, Mary. Get hit on by Will.
Ding, 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 ding. I already know what David Mack's gonna do to me.
I'm sure Swallow has some stories he could tell us. Dean's bragging about his junk. She squeed. You heard Terry squee.
I'm so happy.
We are at 48 frames per second. I'm sorry. Have you seen the Prime Minister of Thailand?
What the hell did this come from?
Don't ask, but have you?
That's right, Will O'Malley. Squirrel chasing is like part of our bag.
Oh, there's a bunny! Shut up, Terry. I'm not saying that about Oliver. Good Lord. This is a typical Sunday morning for you?
Welcome to the G&T show.
And welcome to this G&T show supplemental log, where this week we have another special guest who's going to be a part of our shenanigans. First, let me introduce to my left, your right. There she is, wearing her steampunk outfit like in Return of the Archons, Terry Lynn.
Hi, everyone.
And there he is the drunken Klingon ambassador from Star Trek V, Ceridium.
Kabla! Purpose die.
He never said that.
I know.
He was too drunk, and then he was hypnotized by Cybok. And our special guest this week from Cryptic, that's right, from Cryptic itself, Bran Flakes himself, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going?
Well,
we're doing well.
Mike's drunk and Terry's Narcon, so, you know.
Just a typical G&T show, then.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much.
Thanks for having me on.
It is good to have you back, sir. How have you been?
I've been good. Things have been busy, as you guys can tell and have seen, and they're just going to keep getting busier and busier, so...
I was going to say, I don't think that we've spoken to you since the Legacy of Romulus expansion came out.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad to be back on. It's been a while.
It has. And we have to say, I don't think that any of us here have ever been more happy with a content push in Star Trek Online than we were with Legacy of Romulus.
I know. It's
epic.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really incredible, the story being told. So I hope everyone's had a chance to play through it.
And do you know why it's incredible? Because it's about Romulans. That's why.
Exactly. What other game has really given this storyline or this kind of viewpoint? There's not many, if any. So
Trek's first villain, first alien protagonist, finally
That's right.
getting the love they deserve.
If they weren't so secretive the rest of the time.
Who's secretive? Eat your soup.
We did get to see you in Vegas. How was that like for you and everyone else?
That was awesome. Vegas was incredible this year. It was really exciting to be back. We had 2 panels. All the news is posted. So if anyone's missed them and wants a recap, Carolyn, you wrote a great recap on Massively and your captain's log entry. And we've also got the panel videos up online as well. So please check them out if you haven't already. Some awesome info. So even some spoilers in there for Season 8. So, we'll be talking more about Season 8 as we get closer. So this is kind of your appetizer.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I got something I brought up to Terry a few months ago, and I'm going to run it by you.
Okay.
And this will make me unpopular with tax, but I don't care. The DOF system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love the DOF system, but really, if you're flying a Defiant or attack ship, you shouldn't get more than 50 or 40. You should get whatever your crew complement is. It's my thought.
I can see that viewpoint. I can see also the other side where some may find it unfair, so to say, just because they want to fly a smaller ship or that has a crew complement. But that's always been something, to look at, because you'll see that ships have crew and what's the right amount to put for each. So maybe those are your backup crew that's back on the station or something. I don't know.
They're stored in the transporter buffer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can
you have
see
to
where
pull them out a few minutes to, make sure their patterns don't degrade.
And by the same
Exactly.
token, since I fly on Odyssey, I would love to have 2,500 tops.
Right. But it's something interesting. I mean, I wonder if it would have been if that happened, what it would have done, what it would look like now. But it didn't. It is where it is now, and we'd actually love to be able to offer more slots, but it's more of a technical issue on why there's only 400 that you can get up to. So we'd love to be able to do more because people love their duty.
400's a good amount. 400's a good amount, though. Managing more than that.
Yeah, it gets a little hairy, as you can imagine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you all find yourself, when you send DOFs out, you use the same DOFs over and over and over? It's like there's certain ones I have that, I'm like, oh, that one's experience. It's not like they built experience points, but if there's like a security one, I've got certain ones that are my go-tos.
Yeah, I do like to step into, get into the role a little bit and send out certain duty officers on certain missions. I have been working, though, on upgrading all of my rare officers to purples and trying to get as many very rare officers as possible, but I still got a good mix of them all.
Have you ever airlocked them for coming back as a failure?
Gosh, probably only on my Klingon character.
I beamed you into open space.
I just donated them to the Fleet Starbase, and then made the Fleet deal with them.
If you're a doctor and you can't deal with a headache, you get off my ship if you can't deal with somebody's headache. So, So, Brandon,
yes.
You are in quite the unenviable yet enviable job.
It's my dream job, but I will not say it's not a challenge at times.
How do you keep sane?
Exactly. Are you on heavy med? Is that what does it?
No. I think I try and really keep an open mind, and I think it really helps coming from the community because I'm a player myself. I play almost every day and have since closed beta. So I can step into that role, but when I'm in my professional role, I step into the community manager's shoes. But I do look at things with an open mind, and there's a lot of passion out there, and it really that's what it comes down to. I think, especially when you're looking at something like Star Trek, there's always been a lot of passion behind it, and then you add in a video game that's ever evolving and ever changing, and you can see where that can lead. So yeah, I try and I don't take things to heart, in terms of maybe harsh criticism and things like that, but I use that as a stepping stone to see, okay, well, where can we build off that and change that attitude? So it's important because if you look at the industry as a whole, you'll find this really in any video game setting. So it's important to look at it that way, because if you don't, you'll end up going crazy, I think.
Well, let's expand on that just a little bit. And I know that pretty much everybody that's not true. This is the G&T show, and a lot of people who listen to us do not yet play the game or don't play the game or have never really touched an MMO. And there is a stigma about the communities in gaming and how rough they can really be. Everybody's heard horror stories about how people are treated in forums or even in some guilds or whatever like that. What is it that you want to be able to say to our listeners to give them advice advice on why STO is different and why its community is different, and yet how to, shall we say, surf the waves of negativity that can be seen in the forums?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the most important aspect, is if you're a fan of Star Trek, it's really the only living, breathing Star Trek form out there right now. Of course, novels as well, but really to immerse yourself in it, not just weekly, but daily, all day. Really, if you wanted to, you can be in the Star Trek universe, and that's important because there's a lot of people that are into that, and because it's also a video game, you'll see forums are very different than if you went to a Star Trek forum. When I look at our forum community and our community at large, things we get on Twitter and Facebook, I'm really proud of our community. I've played a lot of different games before, and I have to say that while there's a lot of passion in our community, it's typically directed in the right way. It's very constructive, whether it's negative or positive, and I think that's important. If you're going to be providing feedback or going in there as realizing that, and to be constructive, we want to hear it from all sides, but being constructive is the way to be heard, really. But if you've never played an MMO, I suggest just jumping in the game and meeting the community in there. I know that both you guys, or all three of you, can provide listeners, if they have questions and things like that, different resources. And people how to learn how to play too.
Well, this was the first MMO I ever played, and it's really the only one I play. I mean, I go into Champions occasionally. As a matter of fact, I need to go in. I haven't been in, and oh my God, that patch is going to be amazing. I'll have to go to a coffee shop or something and get some food and let it patch and just read a book while it patches. But no, it's the first MMO I ever played, and I did specifically because it was Star Trek, and we have come such a long way in this game since it started. Yeah. It is amazing.
If you tried it when it first launched, and you haven't tried it since, I urge you to definitely check it out. It is a completely different experience.
Completely different game.
Completely different game for all three factions. For most, obviously, for the Romulans since they're brand new, but then the Klingons and Federation as well. We're actually working on our Federation intro experience, so the tutorial. Actually, we're going to be playtesting it as a group, as the development team tomorrow. So get to jump through and check it out for the first time, give feedback to the team making it. So hopefully we'll have that out in Season 8.
That's fantastic news.
So does that mean we'll be able to see it on Tribble here in the next month or two?
I don't know when it will hit Tribble, but after we do playtests, there's still a lot of iteration that has to be done, a lot of polishing and things like that. Playtest is to really go through content-wise and flow-wise. There'll still be things like polish and etc. So I'm really excited for you guys to see it. There was a new Federation interior made for it, which will actually, if I'm not mistaken, and of course everything I'm saying could change, but that interior should become like the new default interior for your starting class ship, and it's really cool. It's up to standards with what our recent bridges have been like. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Yeah.
Excellent. You're also, as community manager, you're doing a lot of different things. You're on Twitter all the time, handling bug reports from community members who use Twitter. You're on Facebook, probably doing the same. Not to mention the forums and everything else. How do you keep everything straight?
That's one thing I really pride myself in. I'm really good at time management and organizational skills. I always have been. I haven't been officially diagnosed, but I'm almost 100% certain I have some form of OCD, which could be, it's sometimes a detriment, but in this environment it actually really helps because I make sure that everything gets done and players get responded to.
And you Twitter, do take the time to respond, which is amazing.
Twitter, especially with Twitter. Twitter is upcoming. Not upcoming. It's been around for a while, but it's gaining more and more influence in terms of social. when you look at Facebook, forums, and Twitter is almost the evolution of all three. Forums, have been around for a long, long time, and systems like Reddit, like what they have, are kind of coming up, and you see a lot of new websites being made, and they choose to go the Reddit type of route rather than a forum type of route, which it almost works similar, but you get to be engaged in the conversations that the community is interested in engaging in as well. And your posts don't get pushed down, if they're trending or whatnot. But Twitter, I like on the way to work, I'll check my tweets that have come in over the evening and respond to any that I can. If I don't respond, it probably means I've missed it. Sometimes I don't get all my tweets for some reason. I don't know. But I try and go through them all and even go back and check. And then on forums, I'm in there, multiple times during the day. I think that's a misconception with the community managers, that we just start in the forums all day, when it's actually not. I'm preparing news posts, blogs that are going to be going out, taking almost all the screenshots you see on the site, are done by me. So jumping in game to take those, running community events, attending meetings, doing play tests, things like that. So I try and get in there as much. My big role is to be the bridge for information between the development team and the players. So obviously community interaction takes up the most amount of time, and I really try and get to everyone in all our different forms of media.
I mean, and part of your job as community manager isn't just monitoring or helping to kind of oversee the forums or the Twitter account and some of the public relations for the game. And you were saying also all of the posts, or what you call the blog posts, are the things that appear on a daily basis for the main website.
Right.
You're also the kind of the liaison to Perfect World as well, correct? I mean, you're the Perfect World liaison. I mean, you're kind of bouncing between two masters. Yeah,
so I'm employed by Perfect World, but work very closely, obviously, with the STO team. I'm down there pretty often, and then as well also with CBS. So I'm our primary liaison in terms of what's going on here, getting up news blogs. They're posting usually at least one article a week about STO, and that's from me preparing it and sending it over to them. So
and that's at StarTrek.com.
Yeah, that's at StarTrek.com.
I was going to ask about that relationship, but it looks like you've covered it.
It's really awesome working with them. They've got a great team. Most of them are based out of New York, and so we communicate daily through email. But they're awesome.
I've been doing public relations for 25 years, so if you need an East Coast office,
I don't know about an East Coast office, but we have so many positions open right now, not just at Cryptic, but at Perfect World as well. So if anyone's interested out there in getting into the industry, definitely check out our openings pages, the one at Cryptic and the one for Perfect World.
You can access that by just going to the bottom of the page, right?
Yeah, if you're at StarTrekOnline.com at the bottom, is there a careers link?
Is there careers on the bottom?
Well, you can go to crypticstudios.com/openings or pwe-inc.com/career, and all the openings are there. Yeah.
Well, to allow our audience and STO players and non-STO players to get to know you a little better, what was your first Star Trek experience that drew you in? How did you become such a fan? And what is your favorite Star Trek?
So this is actually interesting. So let me preface this by saying, growing up, I loved space. Like, I loved NASA. I had toy starships and like the shuttles, the space shuttles, lunar landing module, all those kind of things. I loved that stuff. I loved astronomy and things like that. But my dad, he grew up basically, he was born in the 40s, so I guess it was later in life is when TOS came on. So he watched TOS and loved it, and I think he originally got me into space and everything like that. So he would always watch Next Generation. So I grew up when Next Generation was on the air, and he would always be watching it. He'd always have me, Brandon, come watch. And he's like, come on. And I'm like, no, I don't like Star Trek. And what's funny is I don't think I really grasped what it was, because I think anytime I saw it was only like a planet scene or the crew on there. I never saw any of the space stuff. And I think I was really into space, like ships and things like that. And so that went by, and he was, he kept watching it. I would see it on. I'm like, oh, the bald guy. So Voyager was premiering, and he said, come watch it. I'm like, Dad, no, I don't like it. He's like, just watch it, trust me. So, I was a little bit older at that time. So I sat down and watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing ever. I love this. Why have I not watched it before?
Voyager?
Hey, I love Voyager. Stop it.
But and there from there we watched it every. Was it on Wednesdays or Mondays originally? I forget. We sat down and we watched it every week together, which was really awesome. So really bonded. And I would catch the movies when they played on television because YouTube wasn't out back then, and the internet definitely wasn't around right when it was kind of when Voyager was.
Just starting. Yeah, it was catching. It was getting its legs.
Yes, but it wasn't like you couldn't really go watch videos or whatnot, So I would just catch what would come on television, and that's what got me in Star Trek was Star Trek Voyager. And I actually had the honor of being able to tell Kate Mulgrew and Robert Beltran in Vegas about it, letting them know that, they're the reason that I love Star Trek, which means they're the reason I'm here today in my dream career. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
So yeah, that was my first one. I think because it was my first one, it's also my favorite. I've gone back and watched everything. In 2009, I did something actually before I even worked here on the STO forums. I did something called Star Trek The Journey. And what I would do is watch one episode a day, starting with The Cage. And I would post about it on the forums. I'd say, okay, we're watching this episode today. And we went through every single episode from the original series, animated, Next Gen, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, watching them all in production order. All in release order. And then when a series ended, I watched any movies that came out during that series. So it took, I think, a year and a half or so.
Oh, sure.
But I had basically new Star Trek every day because I'd only caught what was, replaying on television. So I had finally got to see all past Star Treks, and that really made me fall in love with the franchise even more. So.
And after your journey, Voyager was still your favorite?
Yep, I have to say. I really love, I think one of the fundamental themes of Star Trek is exploration. And I think that Voyager had the best opportunity to be able to show exploration because they were really in an unknown part of the galaxy and making their way home. They got to run into something new every week that we had never heard of or seen before, which the other shows, portrayed as well. Next Gen and TOS, running into new enemies and things like that. However, I really enjoyed it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's wonderful. And I'll finish it one day soon. We'll see. We're in season 6. We're in season 6.
Okay.
But
you passed my favorite episode then, season 4, Message in a Bottle.
I love that. I will say,
that's
a great episode.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate reason is probably because the Prometheus was introduced in that episode. And you know me, I love my starship, so I mean that was really cool.
It was 3 in 1.
I know. But I love.
Although it did have Andy Dick.
Yeah. Yep. That's true.
Actually, Andy Dick very underappreciated in that episode.
He was awesome in that. He was hilarious.
Yeah, his timing with Robert Picardo was great.
I thought it was good too. I really liked the Doctor when he got to kind of be the hero for Voyager on a few occasions. So I thought that was an interesting storyline.
What's your take on the animated series?
I think it was interesting. I've only watched through each episode only once, but I thought it was cool to kind of see. It was definitely it came out before Next Gen, so it was before really all the special effects and stuff. So at least animated, you could be even more creative because you're not limited by models and props and.
They gave us the score.
Say it again.
They gave us the score.
Right. Yeah.
That's the bird-like grace that in the series.
Which is, I think, your character is avian, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Ceridium is avian, so I still want bird bits. So the character creator.
Oh, in the game?
Yeah, I still want bird bits.
I'd love to see Trilexians. Like
with the 3 arms?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Eric's.
Yeah.
Phase 2, they're about to release, I guess, an episode soon where they actually have Lieutenant Eris in it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm excited. He's all CGI, but it looks good. It looks good.
That's huge for a fan-based production.
Yeah. So
what happens when you let Trek fans all on their own? Yeah, I'm just saying.
If you haven't watched it, though, for anyone listening, if you haven't, definitely check it out. I mean, it's part of Star Trek history, I think, even though it was an animated series. So.
Well, and it's from the early 70s, but again, some of the writers that wrote for that were they were television primetime writers that wrote for a children's cartoon. And it shows because, some of the stories are goofy. Hello, Infinite Vulcan.
Joker. Joker.
But some of them are like yesteryear. You definitely in Enterprise when they do the Vulcan three show arc, you see Vulcan as it was presented in the animated series with the way the city is laid out and all of that.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, we want to talk about the Foundry a little bit.
Sure.
I'll just kick things off with, you are responsible for kind of overseeing what is the Foundry Spotlight at StarTrekOnline.com. Can you explain to our listeners what the Foundry is to begin with and what the Foundry Spotlight is?
Sure. So Foundry is what's called a user-generated content tool set. It allows you access to be able to create your own storyline missions in-game for free. I think if you're a silver player, which means you can play Star Trek Online for free. If you're not subscribing, you can still get access to the Foundry. You just need to purchase it with in-game credits, which is pretty easy to earn, the minimum amount you need to buy your Foundry slots. But this tool allows you to take all your ideas in your mind that you've ever wanted to do for a Star Trek episode and be able to let players experience it firsthand. You basically create a mission where the player becomes the starring role of that mission, and they go through it. And it's really allowed for so much creativity. There are some incredible missions in our game that I'm just floored at when I play them. And what I do is the Foundry Spotlight. And what that does is I look for missions that are suggested by the community to play through, and then find ones that we'd like to let the entire community know about through the Spotlight, which we'll post a blog up on the website letting players know that the mission is spotlighted, and also it's available in-game through the interface. It tells you what it is, so it's easy to pick up that mission and go play it. And that's really fun. I was able to return it for the first time last week, and I'm shooting for bi-weekly installments of the Spotlight, and then get back to weekly as soon as possible.
Very cool. The current Spotlight mission is Alpha Fight by Ramer Tamek.
I think that's how you say it. This mission actually won a Foundry challenge, so that's something else that I run, is these contests where basically I give a outline or a backstory of a premise for the mission, and players have 6 weeks to make it, and then 3 weeks for the community to play through them and vote on them. And this one that won, I said, make a mission that surrounds being in a small craft, because in STO we have ships and we also have shuttles or small crafts that you can fly. And so this player made an awesome mission. Definitely check it out. It's got a great Star Trek feel to it, so check it out if you can. And then I just started another Foundry challenge that went up this past week, and it's the premise is to create a time travel mission to the past specifically.
Back to the past.
Yep.
For this Foundry challenge, create a mission that's main story plot revolves around time travel to the past. How far back you go, along with the rest of the backstory, is completely up to you. So you really give Foundry authors a lot of leeway with these challenges to really be creative and to tell whatever story they want, as long as it fits into that general premise of time traveling to the past. That's cool.
Yeah.
There is something I wanted to bring up. There's currently a couple bugs going on with Foundry. I'm sure that you're more than aware. I know I've mentioned them a couple times probably to you on Twitter.
Pain in the ass you are with him. What? Who? What?
But the bug, is it a concern, for these Foundry Spotlight or the Foundry Challenge? I mean, what the bug is that preview load times are they're very long when you add an object to the editor or to a map from one of the side panels. There is a workaround, but not everyone knows what the workaround is. But do you foresee that being a problem, or is there a fix on the way that you can tell us about? Or
yeah, so I have the Foundry developer who works on STO's Foundry. He's currently investigating it, and I posted in the thread about the challenge that I'm always open to making sure that these missions turn out great and that players have ample amount of time. So we'll see when that fix goes in, and then we'll extend the date if needed and to when needed, based on when that goes in. So he's currently investigating it now specifically for us. I know that there's several other bugs bugs too, but we put this as kind of the priority for right now to look at and get a fix out for.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know that it has been frustrating for me trying to get into the editor and create a couple other missions that I've started many moons ago.
Sure. Yeah, I made sure that was clear. The intent for me still posting it was, there's plenty of time still for authors to start creating their dialogues and mapping out their flow, and there's a lot that goes into the mission other than, building it in game. At least when I've made my missions in the past and when I've talked to other authors, is a lot's done out of the game, to prepare for it. So hopefully this will allow time to prepare for that, and of course we'll look at when that fix goes in and where we need to adjust the due dates and things like that. I'm very fair when it comes to all of that, and have definitely been in the past. We've adjusted the dates various times for different things. So
excellent. I'm sure the Foundry authors that do listen to us will be pleased to hear that.
Yeah, and I let them know too. I posted recently in that thread that they're currently investigating, and we hope to have a fix out.
Excellent.
Great news.
You're also responsible for the literary challenges.
Yeah, those are so fun. About every 2 weeks or so, the last one went a month because it was just too fun to stop. I put out a challenge. We're on number 48, so the last one that I sent was number 47. So it was called There Are 47, and the premise was 47 of what? So
perfect. What a great challenge.
Yeah, so players came up with a story on what 47 things there were, and there's some awesome ones out there. Some comical ones, which are awesome to see, poking, prodding at different things, but it's really fun. And I take the same approach with the Foundry Challenge now that I have with the Literary Challenges. I try and keep the backstories open as much as possible. That way, players aren't too constricted and they really can let themselves go. And of course, in the rule sets for the Literary Challenge, I do mention that the backstory is just meant to provide, a basis, and you can stray from it, just try to keep to the original intent of it. So
now, for our listeners who aren't quite familiar, even though the Literary Challenge isn't played in the game per se, the Literary Challenge it's a challenge for the Star Trek community and fan fiction writers or just writers to kind of exercise out storytelling ideas, and it's a wonderful, wonderful exercise that the G&T show actually linked directly to. So when we see the Foundry Spotlight, we link to it on our site, but we also do the same for the literary spotlights on our website. So even though you may not play the game per se, don't hesitate to jump in and become a member of the Star Trek Online community. You can create an account for free, and there's no reason why you can't jump in and share your stuff with other people as well.
Yeah, and other fellow authors and players who participate in those challenges provide great feedback too. So it's really awesome to see it. It's grown so much from when I restarted it. From a few page of discussion thread to like dozens of pages. So it's great to see authors giving each other feedback and talking about their stories and evolving them.
Exactly, I agree. It also is a great place to learn from others how to improve your own writing skills and storytelling skills, but also at the same time, it's just a great feeding ground for ideas, and have fun with it, everyone. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. You've listened to our show, right?
Of course.
All right. I've got a Life Pod 1 for you. You're on your ship. It's going to explode. There's no getting around it, no technobabble. You're safe. You're the pilot. I'm going to give you 4 people. I want to know who you leave behind out of the 4. You can only take 3. Thomas the Cat, Zero, Kestrel, or Dan Stahl.
I would leave myself behind.
No.
I can't.
You're the only qualified pilot.
I can't.
That's putting him on the spot.
I would come up with some plan to multi-vector assault mode it, and
he'd store one of them in the transporter buffer.
Yeah, there you go. That's my yes, exactly.
Tom's mind.
I couldn't leave. The team, everyone I work with is incredible. It's honestly the best team I've ever worked with at any. I've been in a lot of different careers, job industries, and man, I just love everyone I work with.
Yeah, let it be known. He tried to do a Life Pod 1 and he wouldn't play.
Of course not. What did you expect, Nick?
That was a loaded question.
It really was.
For sure, the first one was Dan gets on board. That's not even, I would have left Tom.
Are you kidding? Zero would kick his ass. Just saying. What I would do is Brandon, you could have just said, I'll step back and let them fight it out.
With the
The arena
music playing. Yeah, with ums and lurpas flying through the air.
We would figure out, knowing this team, we would figure out a way to get every person, all four of us, onto that shuttle pod, life pod.
That'd be awesome. That's funny. Instead of Star Trek Online a little bit, I mean, pardon me, you pretty much now kind of live, eat, and breathe Star Trek Online and Star Trek. What is it that when you go home, I mean, you've got to disconnect yourself from it at some time. Do you play any other games?
I do. And actually, I went to Europe recently.
That was another question I was gonna ask.
To work out of our EU office. And one thing that I couldn't do over there is be on my cell phone all the time. I literally was disconnected because I didn't pay for an international plan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually like opening my eyes and I'm in this park and I'm looking at things, not glued to my phone. So I've even let players know this. I've disconnected myself a lot more when I'm out of the office and at home and things like that. And everyone's like, oh yeah, you should be doing that. And so it's great to have that support. I do. I disconnect. We have a dog, so we're out walking with her, playing with her at the dog park. I do play console games as well. I play other PC games. I love music. I love television. I have so many shows that I watch that I try and keep up with. Really excited Breaking Bad is finally back, although it's going to be ending again soon. I always think about you, Terry, too, because,
We're bumming, I'll tell you.
And for those new to the show, it's because Terry makes meth in New Mexico. That's what he thinks about it.
I just happen to live in New Mexico, and the entire Breaking Bad crew and cast, and there's several hundred of them, become a part of kind of your life here because they're always filming somewhere around the Albuquerque central area. And now that it's over with, because they stopped filming several weeks ago, they're done, and it was a bummer. It was really, really sad here to see that Bryan Cranston moved here several years ago, and he loves Albuquerque. And although he's back in LA, we're hoping that he spends his free time back here because we just adore him. We adore everybody that was involved with it.
And he looks good in tidy whities.
And he was, I don't even know where that came from.
He never fails to show up in some show in his tidy whities.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is true. But he's a good guy, and 200 jobs around here is 200 jobs. So the good news is the Santa Fe got a new show, and it looks like they're going to need 300 crew and 125 plus extras. So that's good news. Yeah.
Brent, do you ever wake up in the middle of the night from like a cold sweat that you're like being overrun by people tweeting you and Facebooking and forum posting? And I mean that seriously because I know
I probably
for my job,
I don't know if I have a cold sweat, but I think about our players a lot. And since I have disconnected myself quite a bit when I'm at home, I'm always like, oh, I wonder what tweets I'm going to get in the morning, and maybe I should just check it really quick and respond back because I really love being there for our players and
But that's such a slippery slope because if you start, you get oh God, let me answer this one. This one just came because that's the worst thing in the world I ever got from my job was a BlackBerry that was assigned to me because now reporters can email or text me and call me at all hours of the night. So I can only imagine because you're dealing with literally the entire world.
Right.
You've got now. Are there players accepting Antarctica on every continent?
Oh yes, yeah, for sure. But maybe even Antarctica. I don't know. I have to look that up now. But yeah, we've got players all over the place, definitely covering each continent. So
before we're kind of heading towards our last 20 minutes here, I want to discuss real briefly your trip to Europe. Can you discuss with us, why you got the opportunity and who you got to meet and, what was your intended job out there?
Yeah, sure. So this goes actually back to San Diego State University. So I am technically still an international business major with a focus on Western Europe and Spanish. So I finished all my classes years ago, but the last outstanding requirement to get my diploma was to go abroad and do an internship in Spain. And, I've always been working, so it'd be you have to leave and go do the internship. But I've never found it. Even like in between my last job and coming here back in 2011, I didn't, take that 5 weeks that I needed to go do it. it. So it's always been outstanding. Well, it's coming down to the final. God, I think I needed to have it completed by next year, by the end of summer. And so I'm like, okay, I really got to get this done. Otherwise, what happens is I have to reapply to go to the school, and basically I get a new catalog year. And the catalog year I was in had less requirements, so I'd have to take maybe like 2 more semesters of a bunch of classes. And I knew I
so
wouldn't
your
be able to do
prereqs
that.
changed.
Exactly, the prereqs to graduate changed. So, but I didn't. If I finished in time, then I didn't have to do that change. I'm like, okay, I've got to go. So we have an office over in Amsterdam. Perfect World does. That's where our EU headquarters is. So they cover our French and German territories for STO, and they also have Turkish, Italian, and Polish. And Neverwinter is in English, German, French, Turkish, Italian, and Polish. There's a couple other games that are in Turkish, and STO has French and German. So I work really closely with the team over there because we coordinate everything, and they localize a lot of the content that I write and post it up. So I talked to my school and I said, hey, I have this crazy idea. I'm in my career. Usually internships are made to prepare yourself. Well, I'm already prepared. So this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to go work in our international office. This is why it relates to my degree of international business. This is how it relates to Western Europe. Okay, it doesn't really relate to Spanish, but here's what I could do to cover my Spanish. And I told them I would research the Spanish gaming market while I was over there, and I did. I did that. I interviewed some of the people in the industry that are over in Spain, and I did that. I went over there. I did the same job I was doing here, just from over there, and working more with a European focus, learning about the gaming industry over there. And I also traveled. Each weekend I was there. I went to England, Scotland, and Germany. And one weekend I stayed in Amsterdam, and the next weekend I went home. And each weekend, including Amsterdam, I did a player meetup where players of Star Trek Online got to come together. We talked about the game, answered questions, shared feedback, and just had a really good time. So I got to meet players from all over the world, from all over Europe, and that was awesome.
What a spectacular opportunity.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's amazing. Where in Germany did you go?
Berlin.
Oh, God, it's such an amazing city. I lived there. I lived in Europe for 4 years, in Germany, in Stuttgart and Würzburg, and I just loved Germany.
Yeah,
what did you learn or that was new to you or notice about the European gaming community that is different from the U.S. gaming community?
I would have to say the biggest, I think when I went to Germany, because, with England and Scotland and Netherlands, everyone plays the English client, because it's not translated into Dutch. So if they're in Netherlands, they're playing English. But when I went to Germany, I found out that the most important aspect of the game to them was actually the localization. So the translation quality. And because, a lot of them, Star Trek is very big over in Germany, and a lot of them are playing STO because of the Star Trek component to them, which I think a lot of players who are playing STO are playing for. And, localization was very important.
To clarify for people, Star Trek is huge in Germany. So
very big. Very, very, very big. Very big. Even the person who did the voiceover work, because everything was dubbed over there, the person who did the voiceover work of Jean-Luc Picard is like a huge celebrity over there. You never saw his face, but he did all the voice work. So, and they have a huge convention called FedCon, and so that was really great to see the passion behind it, because they play for the game, and localization is important to us. So we were able to say, okay, we want to make this the best experience. Where can we work on for things? Where can we work on localization areas? So that was really interesting to see for at least our community in terms of gaming, was that that was a big importance to them, because I hadn't really dealt with the French or German side of the game, but when I was over there, that was one of my key points, was to learn about that. So it was awesome to see that, and now we're really working on looking at where we can improve in German and the French localization of the game, because when there's a lot of technical babble in Star Trek, and so we want to make it as accurate. If it shows up somewhere before in Star Trek and it shows up in our game, we want to make sure we're using the same terminology.
That's something that I don't think a lot of people even think about, of course, is how do you translate technobabble when it's really technobabble in the original language?
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Germany, and then you think about the Asian markets too. It's it's something that I would never have thought of until you said that. That's interesting.
Just speaking of Asian markets, are there any plans to localize in any of those, Brandon?
Not that I know of. Some things that, we've talked about looking at are possibly Portuguese. And, we do have Turkish operations already, so we're looking into that, but nothing firm or settled right now, for sure, for anything else other than French, German, and English. But those are some possibilities we're looking at. And I get asked a lot, well, there's, Spanish is one of the, one of the top spoken languages in the world. What about Spanish? And so we look at all those kind of things and really look at gaming trends and in what markets video games, especially MMOs, are doing really well. For instance, when I spoke to my contact in Spain when I was interviewing him, MMOs aren't really the big thing in Spain right now. It's a lot of mobile gaming, a lot of social gaming, things that you see on Facebook, and console. Not too much PC. Online, but it's increasing. So who knows what the future holds for it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting. Yeah. Who's next?
Nick, don't you have a few Lipton questions?
I think, didn't we ask you last time you were on, Brendan?
I don't remember.
Hold on, let me pull them up here. And, because I thought we had, but let me...
I think we did.
Yeah.
I know
Stop us if they're familiar.
All right, we've already got, what is your favorite... If you could be any tree species in Trek other than human, what species would you be?
I don't think we did this one. Man, Q. Does that count as a species?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay, yes.
You'd be a little imp.
He'd silence turn community members, annoying community members into targs.
I would snap my fingers in an instant, and everything anyone's ever wanted in SEO would be there, and any bug would be fixed.
Right on.
Now, as a Trek fan, I have to ask, do you read the novels when you get a chance?
I've read a few. Reading is something I really enjoy doing, but I don't do enough of because my life is sucked up by visual things, but I love doing it myself in a good book, To be honest, I really do.
I'm going to modify one of the questions we usually ask the authors here. Okay. If there was a chance for an open-ended series based on one character in Trek, who would you wish it would be?
I know, that's a good question if you think about it.
And this probably goes back to me loving Voyager, but 7 of 9. I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can find out. And I know this is explored in some of the books already that I've read, when she gets back to Earth. But I think that's a pretty interesting story, her continuing to find her humanity and where she goes from there. And same thing with Harry Kim. I think that with him becoming a captain, there's so many stories from Voyager since they were they're a younger crew, I would say, of where they're going for it. But I think 7 would be really interesting. I mean, and I know he's not everyone's favorite character, but what the heck happened in Neelix?
Yeah.
So where is he at now and things like that?
And how did that experience? Yeah, how did it alter him or change him? Right. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, out of any genre, is there an author that when they have a new book that comes out that you run out to get when it's released?
No, there isn't.
What about game? Is there a game when a new version, even console, comes out that you were just like, I have to have it? What?
Well, one hasn't come out recently, but the Uncharted series is one of my favorite console games series. There was 3 of them. So, and they do really good. They just came out with the development studio Naughty Dog. Also came out with The Last of Us, and that's next up. I'm finishing Tomb Raider right now. I have a PS3, so I'm finishing Tomb Raider. And then that's next up on my list. When I went to Europe, I was just starting Tomb Raider, and that was right when Last of Us was coming out. I'm like, okay, as soon as I get back, I'm going to play, and then I wasn't able to finish Tomb Raider before I go, and so now I'm finishing that. But no, I like I mentioned, I really need to read more. The last book I read, actually, someone gave it to me for my birthday, was Wrath of Khan. Really weird,
wow.
A book. It was an old. They found it probably in a used bookstore. But I read it in one day sitting, and it's based off the movie, so it wasn't written before the movie, so it was basically just reading the movie script almost. But that was the last book I read, and that was I think it was last October. That's how long it's been since I've sat down and read a book, which is really unfortunate because I wish I had more time to read it. If you ever get the
chance, pick up the James Blish novelizations of the TOS episodes, because many of them were written before the scripts were were done. So characters will be different in them. They will have different endings, like off of the draft script instead of what finally went to air. And sometimes they have stuff that wound up on the editing room floor that's in those novelizations. It's really interesting to see some of the original stuff before changes were made, before it went to final script.
That's awesome. I really enjoyed the original series, actually. I loved being able to see where everything came from. You know, after watching Voyager, to go back to something like that, you're like, you get to see Star Trek's foundations.
Exactly.
So
we need to see Sigma Iota in the game, the gangster planet. I love that.
That was a fun episode.
Yes, my Klingon needs a fedora. I'm just saying.
Oh man, Trehu, my Romulan. Can you imagine her wearing a flapper outfit? I'm sorry, I lost my. Now, if they came to you, if CBS came to you or Paramount, and they said, Brandon, we're going to have an author kill a major Star Trek character, not because you hate them, but because it's the story you'd like to see this character get the send-off, who would you pick?
Or adjust it to apply to Stowe. If Stowe could kill off a major canon character.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Worf.
Hey.
Actually, it's interesting you say that. I can't say why, but no, not that he dies or anything. No. But Worf's an interesting character. We really want to build off Worf's story, so maybe we'll see some more of him in the future.
I do love what Dan did with him and Alexander.
Yes,
that was awesome.
I love that too. Dan worked so hard on those Klingon missions, and I think they turned out fantastic. But gosh, going back to killing one person, and not because I don't like him, I really respect him. But what it's really tough.
Sometimes the death would make a really great story, and you know it. That's why we're asking.
Right. And he's definitely getting into that age. Gosh, it's really tough. I need more time to think about it.
Well, while you think about it, let's talk about a character. Who?
No, I know it's going to come to my ideal person's going to come to me as you're asking me.
That's okay. That's fine, because let's talk about a character who did die and came back, and the actress you got to spend a little time with in Las Vegas. We all know that Denise Crosby got to do the voice of not just Lieutenant Tasha Yar in STO, but she also came back to do Empress Sela work. You also got to co-host or co-moderate the panel that she had at the Star Trek convention. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How exciting was that?
It was really cool. Denise is so down to earth. I got to spend actually a lot of time with her, and she is just so excited to be part of STO and just being able to replay her characters and carry on Sela's legacy. And she has a lot of ideas and really helped the development team get some great ideas too of where she'd really like to see her character evolve. She's the reason she has a cape, I don't know if you know that whole story. But she really, we were showing her a cutscene with her and Hakeem, and she's like, "Why does Hakeem get a cape and I don't?" So, that's how Sela got her cape back. I don't know if you saw that funny patch note, but
that's great.
Yeah, she got a cape. But it's really awesome working with her because she's very passionate about her characters, and she's really excited to see where it goes. So working with her is incredible. I can't wait to see who else we can get in, and would love to get her back as well for more. So that was really cool being on that panel with her in Vegas. And if you haven't seen it yet, actually went up today on the SEO page. It's mostly audio, but there is a couple, maybe 10 minutes or so of video of the panel there mixed in with stills, image stills from the panel. So check that out. That's actually on the front page of the Star Trek Online website right now. Trek Radio posted that up.
Yeah. So. Very cool. That's wonderful.
Going back to my thought, obviously you'd have to go back in time and things would have to branch off for it, but what would the Enterprise crew have been like without Picard? Obviously he didn't die, but what if he did? Or what if there were stories based off, Riker taking command at that time? Think of...
From Best of Both Worlds, where...
say he never made it back,
Locutus is still out there.
Yeah. So what if it, he never came back as John Luke and he was Locutus going forward? Stories based on that, I think would be really cool to see.
That would be.
Interesting. Two thoughts listening to you. One, I would love to see Garrick show up and Andrew J. Robinson do the voice of Garrick in the game. Just because Garrick, believe it or not, out of all of Trek, that's my favorite character.
Okay.
If Stowe brings the Cardassians into the game at one point or another, Garrick has to be the leader of the Cardassian Union. I'm just saying.
No.
No?
He's a behind-the-scenes guy. He's the Rasputin.
Well, we already know
of
he's
the
part
Cardassians.
Yeah, but no, don't we already know that he's part of? Let's talk about. We'll talk about that on Sunday morning. Well, but I think we need to look back at Michael's book. I think that they discuss his role in the Cardassians commission. I do.
The needs of the mini.
Right.
Yeah.
By Michael A. Martin. Yeah.
Here's an interesting thought I want to throw to you three and Brendan, with you being such a big Trek fan. I was reading an article recently. If you view Enterprise, the series, through the lens that because it was left the way it was left and because Archer made some of the decisions he made, you have to take In a Mirror Darkly out for this. So you have to take that two-parter out of it. View that it begins when the Borg go back in time in First Contact. It's the beginning of the Terran Empire. I thought that was an amazing thread that I was reading. Somebody wrote that because Archer's not like the others. But somebody said it would have been amazing to have the show go on for 7 seasons, and at the end, because of everything they faced, because of how brutal it was for them, and it would explain why the Xindi weren't in the later series. That they were more cautious going out because of what somebody had told them. I guess this is kind of based on the Shatner books that they were talking about. That's where the Terran Empire came back. I just thought it was cool. I don't know what you all think.
It's an interesting idea for sure.
I think there's a lot to be explored still with the origins and with the Terran Empire kind of storyline as a whole. Sounds like something for your
literary challenge, doesn't it?
Literary challenge, and also STL, that'd be awesome to explore in the game. So
and the Foundry, people could, because you got the NX class.
Do it.
Is there any ship class you're dying to see introduced
into the game?
Yeah.
Gosh, we have a lot of the canon ships in the game, in terms of Federation now.
I know. I was going to say, what's left?
Right. Gosh, there's not a whole lot left. I would love to see more 2409, like more future era, like where we're at now. More custom,
new designs.
Yeah, exactly. More new design, things like that. So
now, for people that may be new to the game that are listening, can you? I know it's been addressed in the forums, but here verbally explain to them why there's not a Tier 5 Constitution refit?
I mean, it's been something that the community has wanted for a long time. And, there's some arguments out there that there are class of ships that are, from that era releasing with those ships that are still being flown at high level. So you never know what the future holds in terms of if there will be one or will not be one. But at this point, it's not planned.
And I ask that because I see that come up on the forums or on Twitter or whatever.
It's like it's the topic that won't die.
Yeah. It's like Tribbles.
Well, it's a classic ship for many. It's a classic ship for many. So, and a lot of people are like, well, now that it's been updated, it's got a new look, but there's certain licensing rights and things where we can't put in certain things that aren't covered for us to use. And there's certain things that are, if there was some kind of some of the stuff that was that was seen in comics, have been able to make it into the game and things like that. It just depends. But that doesn't stem on why, the Constitution isn't there at the high levels. So, I know it's something that everyone would really like to see, and so who knows?
I know that Al's big pet project since the game pretty much began has been the Vought.
Yes.
Which are now we can see and upcoming in season 8. But what's going to carry us between now and season 8? Is there a featured episode that you guys have been working on?
Yeah, so we have a featured episode that's going to bridge the story for where all the factions are at right now, and something you experience at the end of the Romulan reputation system. So in-game, you can complete missions that give you Romulan marks, and you contribute those to projects that build your reputation with the Romulans who are building New Romulus. And when you unlock the final tier, you get access to a mission and there's something very interesting that you discover at the end of it. And this story will basically continue where we left off there, which is where all the factions are at, and bridge the story for where we're going, not only in Season 8, but beyond as well.
Very cool. But what I was going to say is Al has been pushing for the VOD. I want to see the vaudoir.
Oh, here he goes.
We want to be able to tell all stories of any species that was ever seen on screen, So stay tuned. I mean, there's so many different stories we can explore, and who's to say that they won't come up, But the Voth are what's coming next. They're very interesting. They're a very interesting species, and especially what they're interested in. Everything's ties together, and I wish I could spoil everything, but can't spoil it just yet. But you'll see how their storyline of them and what they're after, what's interesting them. Why are we running into them now? Where do we run into them, and why? And gosh, by this time next year, when we all sit down together to have another conversation again, hopefully we sit down before next year at this time. But I'm saying when we do sit down next year around this time, we can circle back to the conversation of the Voth and Season 8. So it's very exciting. It's really, really exciting. You thought the Legacy of Romulus story was great. Well, we've got some interesting stories coming up over the next year.
We ain't seen nothing yet.
Awesome. Awesome.
Very cool.
Well, Brandon,
we've taken. Yep, I was just going to say we've eaten into your personal time enough.
No, please. It's great to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me. I know you're great supporters of not only the game but of Star Trek as a whole. So keep it up. I enjoy listening, and everyone.
I like to think we are the preeminent Star Trek brothers.
That's what we're going to shoot for. If we can, keep from beating each other up.
Yeah.
Oh, please, we can.
You three are off. Keep it up, and thanks for all the support.
Mike chewed through his ropes
Brandon.
once, so we learned our lesson.
Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate you coming on, and
my pleasure.
Hopefully we can talk to you or talk to somebody too when the featured episodes start to come out.
Yes, yeah,
that'd be great.
Tell my girl Christine I said hi.
I will.
Give her our best.
Yes.
All right. Chat with you guys soon. Have a great one.
Thanks.
Live long and prosper.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Joel, I'm true.
And Joel, I'm true.
GNT Show is a Busy Little Beaver production.
Music for the G&T show is provided by Warp 11, Grethor, 5-Year Mission, and Andrew Allen's Smooth Federation.
Gonna take a 5-year tour. Boldly go where no man's gone before. Gonna travel to the end and make new friends. Move ahead, warp factor 10. Put a mini skirt on my yo man. Represent the human race, and we make space a happy place. To boldly go where no man's gone before. I think I've sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A 0G.